So, Morgan, you tried to finance an entire film through product placement. Was it tougher than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to be able just to pick up the phone and people were going to say, oh, yeah, here's some money, here we go. We're like, 60 days we'll be shooting this movie. It took us 9 months to get the first company to say yes. So we were calling companies up and they're like, they're like, yeah, I already saw what you did to that other company. We don't want anything to do with you. I called Abercrombie & Fitch. This is a good one. I called Abercrombie & Fitch and the people at Abercrombie, the woman said, do you want me to tell you why you're not Abercrombie material? And I was like, yes. And so she proceeds to say, okay, you're balding. You're losing your hair. We would never put a bald person in one of our ads. You're pale. Your skin, like, it's almost splotchy. It doesn't even look natural. It looks kind of unhealthy. And you're pretty unhealthy in general. Like, you're out of shape. Like, you're almost fat. We would never put a fat person in one of our ads. And she goes, and if you looked in the mirror, she goes, like, have you seen what you look like? She goes, you're not a handsome man. She goes, like, you are borderline ugly and funny looking. And that mustache, we sell clothes, not porn. Okay, that's it. And so it's just like she just like took me down, and I was by the end of the phone call, I was just like, okay, I'm inadequate.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So no one should ever wear Abercrombie and Fitch clothes because they're terrible.
I'm not even sure if we have that then.
You should set them on fire, and if you see somebody wearing, you should rip them off them and set them on fire.
Was there a product that you personally like to use that maybe you approached and they knocked you back, and has it affected your...
There were a few. Yeah. Like, I love Guinness. I love a good pint of Guinness. Guinness wouldn't sponsor the film. I love John Fluvog. Like, there's like a brand of shoes, that they look kind of like Doc Martens, but they're a little, they're not as hard leather. It's, it's called John Fluvog's. I called them. They said no.
Right.
Who else said no?
Does that hurt? Genuinely,
yeah, it's like well, it's just one of those things. I'm like, I actually use your product. Why would you not want to sponsor this movie? It's like I'm calling you because I like what you do, and they still wouldn't do it. I drive a Honda Pilot. Honda said no. I wear Levi's jeans. Levi's said no, and I'm like, really? Come on! Like, so I went through like my whole medicine cabinet. Here's the toothpaste I use. Tom's of Maine. Tom's of Maine said no. I use Kiehl's in my hair. What little hair I got, I use Kiehl's. Kiehl's Silk Groom. Kiehl's said no. I called up Rogaine and Propecia because I was like, listen, I'm balding, I'm losing my hair. What if you guys came on to sponsor the film and I just use your product the whole movie? How great would that be? Both of them said no. I mean, it was remarkable. The people. I thought it would be easy.
Yeah. That sounds incredible. And the neuromarketing is probably the scariest thing in the film.
Yeah, there's this whole section of the movie where we look at the world of neuromarketing, and this whole concept of what it is crazy. It's like, it is the future. Like, this is when people say, I'm in the future. Yeah, this is it. This is crazy batshit future right now, where they put people in MRI machines. They blast you with commercials. They show you all these commercials. You watch them, and they measure your brain scan while you watch your subconscious brain reaction. So here's your subconscious brain reaction, and they do the same thing to like hundreds of people, and then they take an average of those commercials, so that what happens when they put that commercial out into the world is the majority of the people react the same way. So then they recut the film so the majority of the people will feel pleasure or lust or fear, whatever it is. But that's crazy shit that's going on.
And how did the sheets, was it the Happy Meal or was it Morgan's?
The sheets collector cups.
Collector cups. How did the sheets collector cups go?
Well, the sheets collector cups, because we wanted to make a blockbuster documentary, a docbuster. That was the concept. And if you're going to make a docbuster, first off, it started off with us saying we got to get a fast food partner. We got to get a Happy Meal. That's what we got to get. So I called McDonald's, left message after message after message. They never called me back. I called every other fast food chain. Every other fast food chain said no. So after they all said no, then I said, okay, if we can't get a Happy Meal or a kid's meal, collector cups, Slurpees. We need a big gulp. That's what we need. So then I called 7-Eleven. They said no. I called every other convenience store chain in America. And then finally somebody in my office said, what about Sheets? Like, they had just driven through Pennsylvania, and they said, what about Sheets? And I said, I don't know, what about Sheets? So we called them up, and they were like, sure, come on, we'd love to meet with you. They flew me there in their plane. Like, we went and met with them, pitched the idea, and they were in. And just like that, here's a documentary now that had collector cups. It was crazy.
But when you're watching a film, I think the Sheets family.
Yeah, it is. It's the uncle. It's like the two nephews. Yeah, it's insane.
When the names come up, there were laughs in the cinema. It's a great moment when you realise, okay, this is the Sheets family.
Yeah,
that's great. Would it have been easier to make this and get more sponsors on without Supersize Me? Like, did you have to explain to people this is a different thing?
It's not going to be that. Listen, trust me. It's not. Yeah. No. Every conversation, like, I'd call them up and they, But companies would say, I saw what you did to them. You're not doing that to me. You know, there were people who say, listen, you're not supersizing my company. Click, and they'd hang up. They literally said that. And it was a lot of cajoling, a lot of hand holding. And it's like there was like supersize me is a blessing and a curse because, you know, people would return my phone calls and they would call me back because of Supersize Me.
Yeah.
But then they would not want to be a part of the movie because of Supersize Me. So it's just, you couldn't win. You know, but ultimately, out of the 600 plus companies we called, it was probably about 650 companies. You know, we got 15 to say yes. And these 15 companies basically paid for the whole movie. You know, the budget of the film was $1.5 million, and we raised that full budget through sponsorship and product placement. I mean, it's pretty amazing. The fact that these companies were brave enough to step forward and pay for this movie while we were at the same time pulling the curtain back, poking them with a stick. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. It's phenomenal.
And so, what do you want people to know about product placement?
Well, I think for me, the whole message around the greatest movie ever sold is that there's a question we should ask.
POM Wonderful presents.
I'm sorry, Paul. POM Wonderful presents the greatest movie ever sold. Kind of the takeaway for me is a question we should all be asking, which is where do we draw the line? How much is too much? You know, do we want to live in a world where almost everything is brought to us by some sponsor, which today it is. You go to a concert, you go to a sporting event, you go to all these places, and there's always an above-the-title sponsor. There's brands everywhere that help make it happen. We're at a film festival that's brought to you by lots and lots of sponsors. I drove here in a lovely car, not the greatest car, but a lovely car. Mini Cooper, greatest car you'll ever drive. But yeah, so I think that we do have to ask where does it stop? Yeah. You know, and I think that there has to be at some point there has to be some pushback. Yeah. And one of the things that they're doing in New York City right now, where I live, is the city's cash strapped. They don't have any money, and so they're saying, well, you know what we should do is we should sell off the naming rights to parks and playgrounds. And so now they're basically gonna let companies start coming in and sponsoring the park. So now the park next to my house could be the Bank of America Prospect Park. Wow. I could take my kid to the Hostess Twinkie playground. I could push him down the Kit Kat slide. You know, and there's advertisers that are getting into schools, and I mean, at some point, I think we have to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always there's some football grounds here in Melbourne that there's one that used to be called Princess Park.
Yeah.
And then Optus came in and said we want to sponsor it, and we'll call it Optus Oval.
Yeah.
And I remember all the football fans were like, there's no way we are calling it Optus Oval. No way.
And now, here they are.
Within 6 months.
Yeah.
Everyone was calling Optus Oval.
The same thing happened in the United States, and now I don't think there's one stadium that isn't named by a company.
Yeah.
And this was years ago. Years ago, there used to be like Joe Robbie Stadium, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, Mile High Stadium, and now it's Coors Field. Now it's FedEx Field. Mm-hmm. You know, now it's Qualcomm Stadium. Yeah. You know, it's like every stadium now has a corporate brand above it, and they're like, oh, it's to offset the cost. You know, but doesn't make ticket prices any cheaper. You know, none of that's being passed down to you and me. It's still costing me, you know, $50, $100 and up to go to a game. So where's the benefit to us as fans? Yeah. You know, that's the big thing because there's none. Yeah. There's zero.
Well, congratulations on the Dockbuster.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Welcome to Melbourne. Enjoy your stay, and I'll let you get out of that jacket.
Cheers, man.